My past network fired me when I pitched a show about forgotten women in history, saying history buffs only want wars and presidents. 3 years later, as my independent show hit 50 million downloads, they offered 7 figures for rights they once dismissed. This is too niche, my producer said, barely glancing at my detailed proposal. History listeners are predominantly male, 35 to 55. They want battles, presidents, and world wars, not. He checked his notes, unknown women scientists and artists. I argued that untold stories had universal appeal, but the network had already decided. They moved me to producing a show about World War II naval battles and shut down my development projects. After 6 months of growing frustration, I quit and launched Hidden Mysteries from my apartment closet using equipment purchased on a maxed-out credit card. Each episode featured a remarkable woman whose contributions had been erased or minimized. The first month brought 3,000 downloads and barely covered my hosting costs. But listeners began sharing episodes about women like Lise Meitner, who discovered nuclear fission but was denied the Nobel Prize, and Bessie Coleman, who became the first Black woman to earn a pilot's license in 1921. A breakthrough came when a celebrity shared our episode on filmic Alice Guy Blockhay, the first person to direct a narrative film yet written out of cinema history. Our download jumped from thousands to millions by year 2. Hidden Mysteries had become a production company with 5 history shows, all highlighting overlooked perspectives. Our listeners were predominantly women, but surprisingly 40% were men, proving that compelling stories transcend demographic assumptions. Last week, my former network offered $4.2 million for our company. We've recognized the significant market for diverse historical content, the acquisition letter stated. I declined their offer and instead signed a distribution deal with a rival network that has committed to funding 10 new shows centered on overlooked historical figures. Sometimes being too niche just means you've identified an audience that others have failed to recognize. The stories deemed not worth telling often become the ones people are most desperate to hear.